I've put off this video for a while because I've never been happy with the script. So let's just begin. The first subject on the script is the map. If you hadn't noticed, the Troy map is about 60% water. Now, something that most Game theorists tend to do is fill the Darklands with life when that's not what the Darklands are. I mean, look at the Chaos Dwarfs. Their cities beyond their capital are more or less islands in an ocean of wasteland. I think what the Darklands are actually going to look like is if someone had a texture mod that turned the oceans in Warhammer into a Mad Max style desert. That's pretty much what the Darklands are, just an ocean that looks like a desert. Troy had some island-based factions in the middle of the map, so CA might be tested to see how the AI could deal with factions on separate islands and not just three big landmasses like in Warhammer 2. As what I've noticed is once the AI lands, it's basically playing Warhammer 1. Some of you might be thinking, oh, that would be disappointing because the map would be too small. But it would save resources for the eastern factions and also allow the Empire and the Dwarfs to trade with the eastern factions while also having the map filled up with other factions. Okay, the next thing I've got on the script is trading. The system in Troy is easy to exploit at the moment. That's what it says in the script, by the way. It's easy to exploit at the moment. I have no idea if it's still easy to exploit, but anyway. I can see the system being used to make trading the forefront of Warhammer 3 as the only reason why people want to go into the Darklands is to trade with factions like Cafe and Ind. But there's another game which has an era of trade, Total War Empire. Now let me flesh out this trading mechanic from Troy with the crafting mechanic from the Tomb King DLC. You have charcoal, which is important for blacksmithing. You can also use charcoal to make black powder. But if you're playing a Native American faction or a Native African faction, you need to trade with the colonial powers to get black powder weapons. Resources like pelts would most likely require a stock market like economy, which I don't have time to explain. Yet pelts could work like gold in Troy, but the pelt areas will replenish to simulate like the animals returning. Okay. Ooh, the next one is about dogs of war. Okay. I need a drink. AS has a mechanic which allows you to recruit some units from the factions he's allied with. Now, changing the alliance to trade agreement might be enough to simulate a dog of war army that uses mercenaries, but there's more that can be done. If you give someone a mercenary contract, like which is like from Three Kingdoms, then a mercenary force starts recruiting random units within that person's army. Kind of like the Warg mechanic, but like with your allies. Like your allies get the Warg, and they're completely made up of your units. Now, this could be a really good mercenary faction because this would allow you to fight across the map without actually leaving your starting settlement. But like, that's not what a good dog of war army would be, though. You see, dog of war are made of a bunch of unique characters ripe for turning into great units. I believe that copying. I thought I saw Spider-Man. Anyway, I believe that copying the way mythic units are knocked in Troy, which is by owning certain settlements, might be a good way to adapt the Dogs of War. But going back to Menelaus, he can also recruit mythic units his allies have unlocked. Also, he can steal. I think he can also steal the sort of cap of mythic units. But anyway, getting back on track. So, like, let's say you're trading with someone who owns Albion. You can get access to Celtic warriors and giants for your army, and also your mercenary forces that are attached to your allies' armies. You could have it where you need to make an alliance with someone who owns the region to unlock them. Like, I think it's Hector who you have to play Tor to get like the But I don't think that's a good idea because some people just want to paint the map, and if they can't paint the map because there's units that they can't get access to, then that would really suck. And also, some of the Dog of War forces are from Tilia, so I think that you or an ally should own a region to get access to the units. Before we move on, I made this joke about that there should be a great book of grudges mechanics for Dogs of War, which is basically for those who have not paid their debts. And I just basically made this random image. Yeah. Okay. The next subject was the Chaos factions. And you're probably thinking that, I'm going to say Divine Wheels would work pretty well for Chaos Favor. But that's kind of obvious, so I'm not going to say that at all. But I am going to say that maybe splitting off the Chaos corruptions into 4 separate paths, and the higher your association with one god, the less public order penalties you get from that corruption. Because that's happened with the Vampire Coast, by the way. Like, they have a building which decreases the public order penalty for not having vampire corruption, which is pretty neat. So probably that would work well, because if you're not worshipping corn, then all the corn cultists are gonna riot because they're not gonna follow someone who worships Slanesh or Nurgle or whatever. Now let's get back to what I want to talk about, and also return to Menelaus. I already went over his mechanics in the Dogs of War section, but it could work for demons, but like reverse demons. Like, instead of them making an alliance with you and getting your units, you make an alliance with them and you get their units. And this could only be possible with like Chaos factions like Beastmen and Chaos Dwarfs, and even maybe some Dark Elf factions. But let's delve deeper into like what could be interesting about this. Let's call this mechanic the Pledge. It works like the mercenary mechanics, but a pledge might give you benefits. So, like, if you give a pledge to the Core Knight faction, then you get like bonuses to strength and stuff. But this will make you really unlikable to the non-chaos factions, who might actually join you against they might actually join together just to fight you because you're joined chaos. I just thought that'd be an interesting mechanic, just like chaos corruption, and you've actually joined chaos, like you've role played stuff. Anyway, I have to go because my dinner has arrived. So thank you for listening, and this was a bit rushed because I want my dinner, and also what Total Warhammer 3 is about to be announced